Blog Talk Radio.
Recruiting Animal here on December 17th, December 17, 2014. This is the last show of the year, so I'd like to get a little inspirational today to prepare you for the new year, 2015. And to that end, I'm going to tell you something about a musician I just found online. Her name is Emily Remler, R-E-M-L-E-R. She was a jazz guitarist, and I liked her playing. I saw it on YouTube, so I looked up her background, and I found it interesting, and I'm going to tell you 5 things about her. Just like on Twitter, 5 things you want to know about Emily Remler. Number 1, not everything came naturally. She began to play the guitar when she was 10 years old, and then she went to music school after high school, and she started studying jazz, but her teacher told her that her timing was off. She had bad time. That's what he said. Bad time. So she went home crying, but then she bought a metronome and she practiced her head off. She practiced her head off, and her timing became one of her greatest strengths as a player. That's like a real apple pie inspirational story, but it's true. Number 2, she had idols whom she modeled herself after. For 2 years, she tried to copy Wes Montgomery, famous jazz guitarist. She had his picture up on her wall, and she practiced his style every day. Then later it was John Coltrane. She said, I give my loyalty to someone else every year. But that kind of love, I think, is what the point I'm trying to make here. I'm just ad-libbing about it, but anyway, I'll leave it at that. Number 3, one skill can make a big difference. Because she learned to read music at school, that one skill got her a lot of jobs when she left school, and she was just gigging around New Orleans because not everybody could do it. Not everybody could read music and play, so it really helped her sometimes to have that one skill. Number 4, she cold called people. When Herb Ellis, another famous guitarist, came to town, she finagled. That's the word I saw in the article. She made sure she met him. She finagled a meeting, and after he saw her play, he invited her to join him in a performance that started her career in the big leagues. Not big leaves, big leagues. And later, I'm almost done. Later, when she moved to New York, she called up John Scofield, another guitarist, another famous guitarist, and he introduced her to other people who gave her jobs and introduced her to other people who gave her a recording contract. Now, just meeting them wasn't the key factor in her success. She had to have something good to show them, and she did. But being good wasn't enough. Someone had to notice that, and she made sure they did. Number 5, the last point, kids. When you grow up and you want to be a recruiter, this is something you can model yourself after. But not this, not number 5. She was obviously a very disciplined person, but people are not consistent. So the fact she was a disciplined musician didn't mean she had self-control in every part of her life. Number 1, here's the main point. She was a drug addict. She said drugs were a chemical shield for her. It makes you not care if the guy in the front row doesn't like you. And because of that, when she was on tour in Australia when she was 32, she died. She had a heart attack. But I hope we don't die here today. I hope that's not rude to say. She died, very tragic. But I hope I don't die here today on Jerry. What show is this?
The Recruiting Animal Show!
Jerry's not going to answer me because he's not there. He's coming to the show, but he had to handle the guy who wanted a raise or something like that before the show started. So I'm just going to go right to the guest. Today we have one of my favorites on the show. All I'm hoping is that he has a decent phone. Jimmy Durbin, come on down.
How's my connection today? What do you think, Animal? Is this a good one?
Well, for the first few seconds, it's not bad. I'm liking it. I'm liking
75 gigs. It's called getting off of Time Warmer Cable, getting on to Communications.
Well, you just dropped out, so I didn't hear what you said. Getting off of something?
I got off of Time Warner and went to Grande Communications.
Grande?
Yeah. It's a
like
little
that
regional player.
Okay, like that cute girl singer now. What's Ariella Grande? That's her name?
I don't know. I'm very old.
Okay, I'm older than you, okay? But listen, speaking about time, I've known Jimmy for 9 years. In 2015, it'll be 10 years, and he's one of my favorites. But before we get going, and he's a good singer. So before we get going, we're going to sing a song. Did you pick one, Jimmy?
Do you know You'll Never Leave Harlan Alive?
No. Do you know love is just a 4-letter word?
I do not.
No, you don't?
I don't. No, I do not.
You sing your song, and I'll hum along. Is that okay? I'd like just to hear you sing. Go ahead.
In the deep, dark hills of eastern Kentucky.
Yeah,
that's
enough.
The place
okay.
where I... No, you don't want to go there?
No, how about this? Seems like only yesterday I left my mind behind. I didn't get that out. And love is just a 4-letter word. That would have been better. Okay, Jim.
Oh, sorry.
On Twitter, you're a good singer, though. I know it. He is. He's got a video he gave me. Okay.
Well, it's because I sang a song to you one time, Animal. That's the only reason.
That's
used
it.
the
I've got it
microphone.
on my website. It's on my website. SM Headhunter. At SM Headhunter. At SM Headhunter. Website, socialmediaheadhunter.com. Socialmediaheadhunter.com. And why don't you tell us who you are in 30 seconds?
I'm a digital and social marketing headhunter who has run an agency in the past, and I've blogged for 13 years now, recruited for 15 years. I tend to focus on digital natives.
Okay, and you used to live in St. Louis, or St. Louis. How do you say it? St. Louis? And now you're in Texas for
Dallas.
about 3 years?
Yes, 4th year now.
4th year? Okay. Jerry, you're back on the line?
I am back.
I've got 2 hang-ups already, area code 903 and area code 571. Must have been the singing. Okay.
Well, I always like to research a little bit about who comes and who goes. So let's see, area code 903. Hey, carry on.
Okay.
Don't worry about me.
Forget about that. Okay, forget about that. You know, I'm going to ask.
I'm obsessed with it.
Okay, Jim, before we get going with your recruiting scripts, because that's what you're going to talk about today, Jerry said this morning on Facebook that he's only cold called 3 times this year. Yes. 3 times. What do you think about that?
I think he's in a niche that he knows people so well that he can afford to do that.
But it's really not.
There goes that topic. You nailed it.
Now, if he starts to struggle, my suggestion to him would be to do 10 cold calls a day. But if he's not struggling, he should be working his network. Plus, it's a weird time. It's a weird cycle.
I would do 10 or 20. I mean, I wouldn't stop. Seriously. I mean,
you just do it to get warmed up.
Yeah, I'm not against cold calls, but the goal should be to never have to make any.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, okay. But you know what? There's a whole issue here of what's a cold call. Maureen asked a question. She said, if I called someone 10 years ago and he doesn't remember me when I call again?
No.
Okay.
It's a chillier call, but
it doesn't even matter if you've never talked to him. If you pretend you did.
How have you been?
Okay. Now,
last we talked, you were pretty busy, so we didn't really get too far.
Exactly.
What's new?
Okay. But Jim, Jerry says he's doing well. First of all, he's part of a team, so I mean, I'm sure his team members are making lots of cold calls to support his work. So it's kind of,
my life's mission.
A lie to say that he only made 3 because his team.
No, that's not a lie. There are all kinds of parts and pieces in our bigger picture here, Animal. Not
okay,
everybody makes cold calls.
For you, Jerry. Hold on. How can you do business development, which you said is your specialty, and only make 3 cold calls a year, unless you're just calling your existing clients again and again and again? Is that what you're doing?
That and referral, and I have a lot of customers that they might not necessarily hire all year long, but when they do, every couple of years or so, they give me a call. They send me an email. They say, hey, need another X, Y, or Z, and I'm back at it. You know, I'm always working with customers.
Everybody, look, he's got this bogus statement, I never make cold calls.
I don't.
That's not a recommendation for everybody. It's nonsense.
And I'm sure, Animal, let me say, I know at some point my little world is going to come crashing down and I'm going to be screwed, and I'm aware of that. It's happening. It's on the way. I just don't know when. I do not know the hour nor the day.
You know that you'll always make your money if you cold call, but as you get older, or as you begin to get successful, you think, I don't need it. And then
I just don't like the rejection.
And then you got to start over.
Let's face it. I don't like people saying no. I don't like being turned down.
I want more no's. I feel like I haven't been getting enough no's.
Thanks, Pete Lefkowitz.
To be tough?
What?
Yeah, it's clear that I'm not pushing hard enough because no one has yelled at me in years. Everybody likes me. They say, "Great, what are you working on next?" But that's not closing deals. So if I'm not pushing enough because I sank too much into the marketing world, which is it's great stuff to learn, but you got to push people. I don't need 100 people to like me. I need 4 to write me checks. You know?
What do you mean by that? Jerry says he doesn't like pushing people. He says that's wrong.
Well, I don't like pushing people I like, but there's.
I don't like pushing people and having them feel like they're being pushed.
There's a bunch of scripts that I've been putting together for myself, so I'm just I'm doing full time now. I'm moving away from the agency, and all I'm doing is calling, and I keep hearing the same things. And it's luckily I've been around long enough that I've seen cycles, and the cycle we're in right now is about to go into a huge candidate market, which means I can't afford to not tell the truth to clients, and if they don't want to hear it, I need to make sure they understand, because otherwise I'm wasting my time.
What are you talking about now? You didn't tell us. You just went off on another track. What are you talking about?
Well, I don't know about you guys, the different niches that you guys are working in, but digital marketing is exploding because everybody likes to track things online, and there's a lot more jobs than there are people. But the people who can do the job aren't necessarily qualified. They've been sitting in the same place for 2 or 3 years, and sometimes that 2 or 3 years is better than 10 years of experience. So everyone who's sat at their same company for a couple of years now is prime target to pull and place somewhere else. But for the example is the internet retailer 500. They need to hire about 100 people who are in a field I'm looking for, which is director of social commerce. There's about 40 people who'll do the job right now. Which means that when I call up a client, or you could call them and say, hey, come find me this, I have to make sure they're serious about hiring, because otherwise we're going to be spinning our wheels. It's what happens when you don't have as much talent. Okay, you know what? You're talking
around the issue. Let me help you, Jimmy. I'll put you in a channel, okay, like you're going to tell us about. Yeah, first of all, you got to make sure, you always have to make sure the company's serious. Maybe you'll tell us how you do that. The second thing is, it sounds like you're saying you have to convince them to take, they want people with 5 years experience. You got to convince them to take people with 2 years experience because they're just as good. Is that what you're saying?
Not sometimes.
Well, don't make me squeeze it out of you. Don't make me squeeze it out of you.
Dude, Jim, you know how this show goes. You're being evasive.
Companies want people who've been there, done that, and those people don't fully exist right now, or they have really, really big ambitions.
Okay, so how do you talk them into taking somebody else? Sounds like you're drawing on real experience. Let's get to the beef, okay? Sure. Where's the beef, Jimmy? Go!
The beef is that it all starts back from my failures in the beginning. I take phone calls that come in rather than making more phone calls going out, which means people call me when they're in a big moment of pain, and they want to do a retainer because they're pretty sure I can do what they can't do. So right away, I'm taking hard searches that are harder than what other people have done, instead of calling around and saying, listen, do you want to wait 8 months and then call me, or do you want to call me today? So I've fallen for selection bias, which salespeople often do, which says that any job is a good job. And I haven't I haven't discriminated when a client calls and says they'll give me a check, which means you spin your wheels a lot doing something that may or may not be possible, putting someone in at the salary that they want.
There's a lot of people on the line. Does anybody want to agree or disagree with Jim, who says he should turn down more jobs? That's number one. And call up people. He didn't explain what he meant by saying, you want to give me the job now, or do you want to wait till you're desperate and you haven't filled it on your own? I think that's what he's saying. Is that what you're saying?
I've actually said that. I will say that to a client. I'll say, look, I've talked to 3 people who have waited 8 months to hire what you're looking for. You're in your season now, which is fourth quarter online. You're not hiring anybody for e-commerce in the fourth quarter of any year because everybody's heads down. They don't want to talk to you until after the year. And then they want to wait for their bonuses. So if a client's not hiring at the right time, and they're literally going to have to wait months and months and months, you got to explain that up front. You can't assume that you're this great recruiter that can find everybody and pull them.
Yeah, but all businesses have a cycle like that?
Yeah, everybody has some kind of cycle. They have budget cycles. They have hiring cycles. You know, where they are, whether or not they're expanding or growing, if they've laid off their recruiters and they need to start over. I mean, there's always a cycle that you have to take advantage of.
So you're also saying that these retained searches are not the best because they're retained because they're hard to fill, and big deal. You're going to spend 6 months working on a search instead of, a month.
And even if you take it up front, I mean, it kills your reputation. And I have a friend of mine who started a company, and they have moved from recruiting retained to contingent. They'll actually say, we'll waive our retainer fee, but this is what you have to do for us. And they sit down and they basically become a hiring consultant, so the person understands, the company understands what they have to do to bring in good talent. Because it's not money, it's the hiring process that tends to be messed up.
Like what? Do you have any real examples? I'm having trouble. I don't want people that are hanging up on me.
I had someone making $92,000 a year. I offered them a gigantic raise. That was effectively $70,000 more. They wouldn't consider it because they didn't want to move. It wasn't money. It was what they were doing. There's another one that's doing the exact same job and is interested, but they're holding out for a VP position, and VP positions don't exist for this kind of job yet. So I'm finding, especially now with all these millennials that are in their mid-careers, people who are 28 to 32 who are good at what they do and are vastly underpaid at large corporations are looking at their personal lives more than they're looking at the opportunity of moving someplace and getting a title or a bump. So that's a weird thing for me because I.
You know what? I got to tell you, you are jumping all over the place. I'm going to have to take control. I don't have a clue what you're talking about.
He's being a little slippery. I got to say, Jim. I mean, and I'm on your side.
I don't want to name client names, but I'm not being slippery.
I don't want your client names. Let me take control here, okay? Let me take control. Okay, what are we talking about? I just want a few. Okay, here you said you're gonna tell us how to get salary information from someone you don't know.
There we go. We'll do an easy question.
Let's do it.
So when someone says they don't want to give their salary or they want to talk about it later in the negotiation, this is exactly what I say. I say, where did you read that? I shut up. I go, where did you read that online that you think negotiating after the fact is a good idea? Because, I've seen 100 of those, but none of those people ever seem to get jobs. So I inject a little humor into it. I say, here's the problem. I can't go to a client and walk through an interview and then have you come back and ask for more money, saying that the job was different. Because then they wonder, who screwed up here, them, me, or you? So I need your number because I'm on your side. And when we go through, there's not going to be any come back and ask for $20,000 more. If you want $20,000 more, ask me now. I'm not afraid to ask the client. But don't wait till the end because I'll have to cut you out of the process.
Jim,
have you ever used the phrase, let's not dick around?
I have not, but I've said
okay, I'm going to throw that one at you. Yeah,
okay,
try it.
It's like, don't waste, you don't want to waste your time. Because I won't go back to a client and ask for more money.
Jimmy, you're a great guy, but I don't really a job description, no matter how clear you try to make it, is not going to tell me what I need to know till I go in there and have a real 1 or 2 hour discussion with the people running the company or leading the team. So I cannot commit myself, write it in stone what I'm going to want for this job until I get to see, face to face. Don't try to sell me because I don't like that, okay?
I hear you. I'm not sitting over without your salary negotiation. How am I supposed to do this?
Look,
I'm supposed to go to them and say, maybe this is the range?
I'll tell you my range.
So let me tell you what happens. I come to you and I say 120 to 140. You hear 140, the client hears 120, and then you guys bicker about a few $1,000s and lose out on the opportunity. How about we just play that game I told you about and go 128, because no one's going to complain at 128. Oh, you want 132? We can do that. But I want a single number so that no one comes back and changes it. Because this is for you too. If they come back and say they're too light, we want them at 122, I don't let them do that. I like to nail it down ahead of time because my job is to make sure you guys don't get in each other's ways.
Can I ask a question?
You're competent to determine how much more you should be paid based on an interview? Well, I know does that.
Can I ask a question?
Go ahead.
That
Jerry.
Many of us, I'm sure, are wondering. Okay. At what point does this theoretical discussion that you're having with this candidate, when did it come up? Is this on your first phone call? Is this after you've spent 2 hours talking about his career? Because I think that's relevant. And Animal oftentimes doesn't give context when he wants to role play. He wants a bottom line answer. And again, give me context.
If I'm calling someone to warm them up, if they're at a higher level, I don't talk salary the first time, but I also don't tell them I have a job. And this is something I'm starting to do with younger folks too. I'm warming them up to working with me because my goal is to get their trust. And if I have jobs, I want to find out what you're looking for, career plans, which is also what I send to them if I'm sending a note or calling or leaving a message. I'm talking about them. If I'm in a hurry and I want to jump right to it, I get to salary because I talk it in every phone call to make sure that they can't come back and say we didn't discuss it. So I don't like to talk salary first call unless I'm in a rush, but I will talk at every other call beyond that. Every time.
Okay. There's a lot of people on the line. Let me just ask: does anybody want to, comment on this? That you can't, you got to nail the guy or candidate or girl down on the salary absolutely before you send him or her in. I don't think that's necessary.
I just did it yesterday.
What
I
did
knew
you do?
there was going to be a disparity between what the client was asking and what the candidate who I've worked with in the past is looking for. Now the thing is, I'm dealing with a much, much better commute from him. He'd be going from the end of Queens to Long Island instead of the end of Queens to New Jersey.
Oh.
So it was sort of worth having the conversation with him, but we're talking about like a $15K disparity in salary. So I had to have the conversation and nail it down and find out, what kind of number makes it worth us having this conversation with the client.
Alejandro, let me ask you something. If a person goes out, they'll say, Alejandro, 120 is great for me. And then he goes out, or she goes out, talks to the company, and he decides, job's going to take a lot of hours. It's not so easy. I want 130 for what they're asking for, okay? And it's not, you can just
but
say.
But that doesn't happen.
Why not? Yes, sure it happens.
It doesn't happen if you
it doesn't
stop
happen,
it
Animal,
before it
because
can.
that's not what they're asking. There's something else at the core of that, and the chances are if you go back and get that money, they'll still say no. I'll give you an example. Here's a live example. I was talking to a guy who's making $110,000. We talked about bumping his salary up over $50,000 total because he has a cost of living to a lower cost area, and his focus was on his car. He got car insurance and everything else. So in his head, $110,000 in a big city with $10,000 total with a car allowance was better than the $150,000, $160,000 he was making elsewhere. It had nothing to do with the actual numbers. Now, I could have argued with him about the numbers, but all I wanted to do was get him to tell me the truth. Are you nervous about going? Is there something else going on here? Turns out he'd been through a recent divorce. He was bringing around his kids. There were other things that were in place. It wasn't the money. So if you get focused on the money, you're missing what the candidate is telling you, which is I'm scared and I'm not sure what's going on, and it's easier not to make the move than to make the move. It's never about the money. And if it is about the money, then it's easy.
Animal believes that most recruiting is about getting somebody a big raise. That's his limited world view on it.
That's not true.
No, I said Animal, not Durbin.
Animal
believes
that's not
that.
true about Animal.
Animal, is it true or not?
It is true. It is true, but not only that.
It is true.
It is true, but not only that. Listen to this. There's people who go out, and I got this from JD, our all mutual friend. They'll go out. They'll see that, and he says, don't tell the candidate after the interview they love you, because once they hear that, they'll think, hey, they need me, and they'll start asking for more money. And so that's proof, at least from him, that people do go in, and then after they've done a great job in the interview, they decide they're worth more. And maybe they really are too. Okay? So
and there's a way to deal
go.
with that, but you got to make sure that's what they really want, Animal, because sometimes they just want a little something. They want the boost, the ego boost. So if it all failed, or if you got to ask the salary question, there is a way to address asking for more money. One, you say, well, that's not what you said when you went over, but I understand where you're coming from. You think you want to negotiate. You see you're in a position of power. That's fantastic. But how much do you really need? And they'll give you a number. And you say, so if I go back to them and say, this is the number that you want, you're going to say yes. And they'll hedge and haw if they're not serious, because sometimes they ask for more money because they want to turn the offer down. They say, yes, that's what I want. I say, okay, so they come back and they say no, or they want more reasons. What are the reasons that you think? Write them down and send them to me so I can go to the client and say, is this an accurate description of the position? Because all I want is to make sure how serious it is. Because if they're right and the job's different, that's a fair negotiating tactic. If they're just saying that, because and they all say it, by the way. I mean, you can go into McDonald's and they'll tell you the job is harder. I'm talking about fry cook here, not director of marketing. But you have to say, why are you asking me this? Well, write it down and tell me. And then you say, okay, so if he comes back and he says he'll give you $1,500 more, but not $10,000, you're turning it down? Oh, I'd turn that down. Okay, $2,000. What are you really asking for? Because I can't go back a second time. And that uncovers, the goal here is to uncover what their real question is.
Okay,
is it just they want a little more because it's their pride?
You can't deny what you said before. You said if they think they're in a position of power, it's legitimate for them to try to get more money. Is that true? Okay.
Yeah.
So Jerry,
But
asking for more money is not a sin.
Let me add. While the end result might be that they have to get a raise in their salary, that's not why people change jobs.
Right.
Somebody isn't going to leave a $90,000 job just because the job across the street or down the road pays $100,000. It still has to meet the professional and career problems or issues that the person is facing at the $90,000. Maybe the drive's too far. Maybe their new boss is a dick. Maybe their company just got bought and they're going to be merging two departents. There has to be a stimulus.
Okay,
something that's happened that made the person decide it's time for a change.
Jim says there's three kinds of job hunters only, or candidates. But I'd like to get to that.
I think there's four. Let's see what the three are, and I'll tell you.
I'd like to get to that a little later, okay?
Oh.
First of all, I just would like to ask if anybody, there's a lot of recruiters on the line, if anybody wants to, talk, we won't bite you, okay? I know most of you are just listening at work, but if you want to talk, please feel free. I mean,
Aren't there any people from your online group?
I don't know, but there's I like it when Alejandro comes in. I like it when Maureen says something. Although she's here. No, she's not.
That's
513. There she is.
Can I ask the group for something non-recruiting related? Kind of like if we were in Recruiters Online group.
Go ahead.
Can anybody recommend an Xbox or gaming headset with a microphone? I need to get one for one of my kids.
With my children.
What?
Reading my Bible. I don't have
okay, let's move on. Let's get back. You guys, I'm having a lot of trouble keeping you on track today, okay? So
nobody knows of... thanks, everybody.
Go ask on Facebook, not here. Go ask on Facebook.
Barry, you'll get an answer.
Don't wreck the show. Don't wreck the show, okay?
All right, let's role-play a high-salary discussion then again for the 50th time.
Jim,
how much money do you need?
Jim. Jerry, I've got to tell you something. If a recruiter comes on this show and says this is the way I do it, he might be the only one. It's nice to hear that 20 or 50 top recruiters do it the same way. That gives a different perspective to that approach. Okay? So don't keep telling me it's invalid for me to ask that question because you are wrong.
No,
Jim,
I'm not, man.
Jim, Jim, you say that if someone says you're a good recruiter, it's a kiss-off. It's not a good sign. Can you want to talk about that?
I hate it. It's such a weird thing to say when someone is praising you for doing your job. Most of the time that I hear that, it's because someone was in a car wreck or on pills of some kind, and they never call back because they're so embarrassed because they get effusive. So one, if someone is on drugs, don't have the call because they're in a really good mood. It's happened 4 times now. I don't know if I'm a curse to people looking for jobs, but when they tell you that, it suggests that either they have no experience with recruiters or they really like you, but there's something else going on. It's a weird thing for them to throw out. They're either so happy that you called and treated them with respect, or there's something else that has happened in the past that
Okay, I got a question, a personal question.
I may be good, but I'm not so good that someone would come out and say, hey, you're doing your job.
I just saw on Facebook a girl named Sybil Galligan from Adecco. She said, in the most professional way, I love your recruiting animal. Is that something I should feel bad about, or I felt good when I read that?
No. That's just someone. It's not a candidate. It's just someone saying you're doing a good job. And someone saying you're thorough or I like the way you do your job, it's not the compliment. It's when someone says you're the greatest recruiter ever or it's effusive, there's something behind that that's weird that's going to mess up your search.
What about you say when someone says all recruiters are bad? Does someone ever tell you that to your face?
Oh, yeah. I've had clients basically spit it out in front of me while they need your help.
And what do you say?
When it's a candidate, and it depends on if I like them or not. If I'm in a pissy mood, if I had a couple drinks in me, I'll say, well, it's because you're not at a point in your career where good recruiters call you. Because I don't need to put up with that shit from people. If it's just no one says it to me over the phone. They say I don't trust them. I say, I can understand that. I understand that, but I'm not that guy. Let's move on. And you want to see if they're hammering about it. When a client says it, you say, well, we only exist because you guys are having problems hiring. Let me show you the right way to do it, and you'll have to change your opinion. And then, because if someone continues hammering on that, it means that the problem is them usually anyway. But I don't think that's public when someone says it.
I like that, Jim. What if you actually said, look, pal, the problem might be you?
I told that to a guy. I told that to a guy. He said, I don't like recruiters. 10 minutes later, he's he's smoking a cigarette outside, and he's talking to me about his hiring problems. So, you either let it roll off your back or you confront it. But you don't waste your time with someone who's just trying to insult you, because sometimes they just want a little payback.
Okay, look, your next
But I'd rather someone say that than not to just disappear.
Okay. Candidate turns down offer. Candidate gets a verbal.
This is a good one. You'll like this one.
Okay, go ahead.
So I had a candidate do that where they just said, so the millennials aren't often good at confrontation, and they don't understand that that's the whole point of being a manager is having tough discussions. And if you call me up and you say, I don't want this job, thank you, but I don't want this job, I'm not going to try to talk you out of it. I'll ask you information, about it, but there's a difference in their tone. If you've called me and said this isn't for me, I get that. If you just disappear or send me an email, I know there was something I missed there, and I want to make sure, because people have moments of panic. And, this is a big decision, taking a job. So I had someone who sent that note over. They basically, after talking and getting prepped and getting ready for an interview, the last interview I do before submitting them over, they just disappeared. And they sent an email message that says, I'm not looking for the job. Good luck. Put an exclamation point at the back, which I hate exclamation points in social. So I sent him a note that basically said, I'm sorry, this is a conversation we should have over the phone, but you should know at the level that you're going into, that's not an acceptable behavior. And I rewrote it like 6 times till it came out not so much of a slap in the face.
Okay, did the client company have them scheduled as well? They were supposed to go. They knew they were going out, right?
They knew a person existed. They knew I was working towards it, but I hadn't submitted it and gone through it yet.
Okay.
Because they didn't miss the interview.
So what happened? Let's speed it up, Jimmy. Speed it up. I'm so happy that I can hear you, but talk a little faster. Get to the point.
She freaked out, and she had a moment of she really was excited. We'd gone through talking to the spouse. We'd gone through a lot of information. So it was a weird timing. So I imagine it was a freak out. So what I sent over was, I told her this is, that you should really talk to me on the phone. And then I said, I understand if you don't want the job. That's not the problem. And at the end, I said, just so you know, the window to this job is closing. You can't next month and say that you really want it if things didn't go your own way. The idea being that she said no, and then I said, well, the job won't be there forever. Because if they have a freak out, one thing you notice, especially with the younger folks, is that they don't actually have 10 years of experience when they're in their 30s. Many of them have just 3 or 4 years of experience because their jobs were terrible coming out. Anybody who's been hired, and they spent so much time doing nothing jobs, and many of them didn't work when they were 16. So I took away the job that she turned down. And when you do this kind of thing, what you're basically saying is, if you have a problem, call me up. The door's open, but not forever. You're doing a takeaway on something they turned down. Because if they respond to you at that point, you know they're a good candidate in the future. If they just disappear, you know that they were never meant for management in the first place.
What happened with this woman?
She disappeared, so we called her boss.
What?
Tried to hire her boss. We disappeared, so we called her boss and tried to hire her boss.
What happened?
Talking to her boss.
Oh, it's
boss
still
is a better
going.
Fit.
Okay. But you know what? The way you put it in your note to me was that you actually had a candidate who got an offer and then backed out. Is that had?
I didn't mean to write it like that.
Okay, you don't have a script for that because that happens too, right?
I haven't had that happen in a long time. Once we get to the offer stage,
Alejandro,
I always make sure it's the same thing. I say, look, if I get a written offer, you're not backing out. You can back up to the point where they write it, but once they write it, you can't back out.
They're not in prison. You can't control them. Alejandro, what would you do if somebody got an offer, then decided no, don't want it?
I mean, this happened to me. It happens. You try and talk to them. You try and find out. You dig in and find out what the real reason is. You know, if they're talking about it being the money, which was the most recent time it happened to me, I dug in and it wasn't the money at all because I was able to get him much more than he was originally being offered. It really came down to he had something else that he was being untruthful with. So what could I do? I mean, the guy was just a liar. He was a jerk.
Oh, really?
And so sometimes people are just liars and jerks. And sometimes they figure, hey, they've gotten away with it before. Why can't they get away with it now?
Hold on. With Alejandro's case,
the funny part is he just sent me his resume just recently.
Yeah, they always do that.
Was he ongoing? The problem ongoing? Why did he even go out to the interview if he knew he had this issue that would prevent him from
Maybe he was trying to make his wife happy. Now I'm going for a new interview.
Give up.
You know, maybe he had a drug problem. You never know.
Yeah, I mean, it seemed to me like he was hedging his bets, and he thought he might have had that, and then it didn't materialize, so he started working on the stuff I had for him. And when it did materialize, the other bank came back to him and said, "Hey, we still want you." Or who knows? Maybe he was duplicitous enough that I couldn't put it past him that he was leveraging one offer versus the other.
Does everybody know what duplicitous means? Okay, I didn't expect it from Alan. It means
having
not
three different stories.
Yeah, not truthful. Okay, so we're moving on to a new question. Now it sounds like Jim, you ask your candidate for references, so you can check references before you send him or her out to the company. Is that true?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
In this field, it's pretty important because everybody looks the same. And being on a team is not the same thing as doing the work on the team. It's similar to what developers were. Usually 2 developers did all the work on a team of 5. Usually in a social digital setting, everyone's there listening, and they can say the words, but there's a difference between listening and doing it. But their resumes look the same, their names look the same, their pitch looks the same, their interviews are the same. So you have to screen away from their skill set. So I like to talk to their references ahead of time. This is general always. I always ask for references before you send someone over. But if they're bad references, you know.
Yeah, but let me get to my point.
Confidentiality thing. If they're afraid of you,
let me get to the point.
Boss.
You know what? This is a very confidential business. How can I talk to references before that word's going to get out? The guy's looking at other positions, and in this case, as opposed to when you got an offer, there's nothing to be gained. There's not much to be gained at this point by taking the risk of giving out names and having the recruiter call and say, I'm working with so-and-so, or I might work with him in the near future. Give me some information. That's a risk. I don't know if I would want to give out that information if I was a candidate. I meet you for, out of the blue. You're asking to call people and quiz them about me. Anybody else got a comment on that?
I've spent a lot of time with him at that point, by the way. I don't talk to them for 20 minutes and then, I do it through a series of phone calls that I'm trying to get them to see how far along will they have worked with me. So it's not like I call them and say I need references. I explain to them what the references are used for. They go into my submittal packet to explain why they're a fit, what some of their weaknesses are, to just kind of shred the dumb stuff in an interview. So I use them as a this is how we get in the door and make sure that no one's asking you if you were a line, what kind of line would you be.
Anybody on the line get references in advance of sending somebody out?
We do sometimes.
I've worked for people who require it that way. It just depends on what your workflow is.
else said that? We do it sometimes. Sorry, I'll get back to
Me,
Alejandro.
Jerry Albright, JerryTheRecruiter.com.
No, go back to Alejandro. For you, I can wait. Alejandro, you do it sometimes? When?
Yeah, I've done it in the past. I don't do it currently. I mean, I usually rely on the strength of the interview that I'm doing, but I've had people who I've worked for who insist I do that first before they do a send. You know,
really?
it just depends on what your workflow is and how you like to set it up.
How does the candidate feel? Who do you call? You can't call the supervisor. Who do you call? People he worked for?
Yeah, people he's worked for in the past, typically. I won't call into his current supervisor or her current supervisor.
Yeah, you don't create a problem for him.
Yeah, we're trying to get them a job, not lose them one.
Okay, well, Jerry, when have you done it?
Well, since sometimes
Hold on a second. Talent Talk says requiring and checking references prior to an interview seems unreasonable. I got somebody on my side, but I noticed before that Blake Cannon said he was with Jim 100% on money, so he got an endorsement from Twitter as well. But now,
hey Blake, will you do me a favor and send me some of your South Dakota pictures? I didn't take many.
Yeah, okay.
Sure, I will. No problem.
Thanks, man. Some of the good ones.
For that, he comes on. When I'm begging for somebody to comment, no, he won't open his mic.
Huh.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. Okay. Jerry, when do you do the pre-interview references?
Sometimes we are in the process of hiring them for ourselves, since we're a consulting firm, and submitting them to my customer. They more or less give us the go-ahead if we believe that they're the right person.
Yeah, but your guys are different. They're on contract. They're not in a permanent position anyway. It's completely different.
So look, man, I was just answering the question.
Okay.
I don't need this. I don't need this.
If I were inside, I would probably treat it differently. And I'm also aware that I don't want to call the references and then have the company check the references as well. But I do want to talk to somebody who can tell. I'm looking for stories that I can put into my submittal packet. I want to understand what they really did, so that the person.
Okay,
so it's not like the.
Yeah, but if I'm checking references, then I don't expect my client to be doing it too. I mean, that's part of the service I'm providing.
Right, but some clients will do that anyway. They'll check on the back end, and the contract says that you can't expect me to check references. It's a fluid thing. I need to make sure that they're doing it right, and I'm also looking for jobs and leads and getting a better description. I'm not looking for supervisors. I'm never looking for a supervisor.
I'm the leader here. Do you ever pick up job orders from your references? Theoretically, you can. Have you ever done it?
No, I've never done it. Never. Not in 15 years. I'm just probably bad at it.
No.
I just got offered that, and then when I called into HR, they put me on the pay no mind list. So they're still a target company, and they're going to continue feeling it.
Pay no mind list. Okay, Jimmy's going to go on. He says when the client sees a good candidate and then says, I want to make a move right now. I want you to send me to I want to see some more people. Jim,
so
that's your cue.
When I hear that, one, I get nervous because I want to make sure that I'm making a bunch of cold calls after the fact because that's usually the kiss of death. So if they say that, I'm saying, well, what's wrong with this candidate? And let me ask you, in your head, I want you to picture me calling you next week, and this guy took a job $10,000 more than you're offering. Are you going to be mad at me? So I try to immediately create an image in their head of what happens if they wait too long. And then say, well, it's a budget thing, or usually they don't. Whenever something like this happens, it means it's not fully a fit for them, or something else happened that I need to get to, because they always say, well, just send me some more people, which is pretty
some
common.
Some people have
an
abstract principle. They don't know how to hire. They say, I got to see 3 people. This guy's really good, just what I asked for, but I have to see who else is on the market.
Yeah, it doesn't. I mean, they ask that, and I say it takes time to develop. All the people you shouldn't have talked to, I already didn't put them for. Do you want me to put in front of you the losers that I said no to? Because you probably like them, but they weren't a fit based on what we've done. I lean on my own expertise there, which is probably a little unfair. But I hate the whole bridesmaid thing. I know it's important. I know everyone's supposed to do it, but it just seems unfair and a waste of time. So when they're asking for more, if I know it's a bad candidate, it's one, but it's a great candidate and they're going to screw it up, I'm aware that I probably won't be working with the client much longer. This is why I stopped doing contingent for a while, precisely for that.
So the other people are just padding. No, it's what you're calling the bridesmaids. I've never heard that before.
I forget. Like, someone told me about. Yeah. They're just padding.
You got a bride.
Some recruiters say that's the word.
Bridesmaid. I like it. I never heard it before.
I hate it.
I like it. Maureen, what do you think? No, she's not answering. Okay.
I think it might be kind of sexist. I'm just throwing that out there.
Well, it was a male recruiter who said it. I swore I heard this on the Animal Show, and we argued about it like a year ago.
Well, maybe 10 years or 7 years ago. I don't know. Anyway,
7 years ago.
The client wants to know the social history. I'll bet that isn't exciting as it sounds. What does that mean?
They want you to do a background check that includes searching Facebook, Twitter, all the other stuff that's in place.
Uh-huh.
They want to make sure that there's nothing out there that will embarrass them or dig up information.
What do you say?
Because it's my name. I tell them a story about the guy who brought in this young girl and went through 7 pages on Yahoo image search.
Yep.
And when she sat down, went through the whole interview, said she was a good job, and then pulled out the pictures and showed them to her and said, "Do you think?" He found her in a bikini on the 7th page. Asked her if she thought she could work at a conservative place like this with pictures like this on the internet. And I usually laugh or get real nervous, and I say the problem is if you're asking for information or you're looking for it yourself, that story may very well end up being the end of your career. See, I will make sure there's nothing weird, but you shouldn't ask and you shouldn't check. There's no good way to approach that. I just kind of leave it there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I look through people when I'm sourcing them to find out if they're crazy or if they're doing things that are separate. You can tell from tones who fits, especially for PR type of positions. But you don't want to go too deep into someone's history. And I can't believe the recruiters who admit that they do it. I can't believe the stuff they say live because it really is.
It's illegal. Is that what you're saying?
It's not just illegal. It's also there's not a real value in it. The question is, are they going to embarrass you when they're working for you? So if it's easy to find them and they pop up all over the place.
Yeah.
Not to mention, these days you can't do anything without someone losing it. So if you're actively seeking out information from someone, chances are you're gonna make a mistake there. You'll lose a good candidate. And
Alejandro's up.
Yeah, I had a young lady I was representing at one of the banks, and she had I won't say questionable, but it was a somewhat racy LinkedIn profile picture. So I said, you know what, I better look. And sure enough, I found a bunch of bikini shots and stuff like that. Now, what I did was I walked her right through it, and I told her this is how you get all that stuff removed. You know, because this was, when she was in college or whatever it was, she was second job type person. So it wasn't really like she had anything that was too risque, but in a bank, in a conservative environment, somebody might decide to look and pull just what Jim said. You think you can work somewhere like this, and somebody's going to find,
Let me ask something. Is it, if you're a woman, is it bad to wear, show beach pictures on your Facebook page?
I
don't know.
Who's that? Travis? Who's talking in the background? What do you think?
Frank gets real quiet.
He doesn't want to talk.
What do you think of bikini pictures, Duke?
Okay.
I happen to be a fan of them, but yeah, they might not be the proper place in this instance.
Well, you know what?
What's the difference between bikini pics and your wedding registry? I had a sales guy whose wedding registry was on the first page. I'll tell candidates how to push that off. I'll say it's not fair. It happens. People don't talk about it. You want to fix this for yourself.
Yeah, you want to protect your candidate. The thing is, some of these things are taken out of context too, because here's pictures of me going to Myrtle Beach with my friends, and then all of a sudden, if you just do an image search, you just get all this whole string of images, and it looks weird, taken in that context. If you want to look for something that could be questionable, it's going to look questionable when you find it.
Okay. Final question on this topic. I just posted on Facebook a little video of a very fat guy, and he's at a hockey game. He takes his shirt off, and he's dancing with the bear, the mascot, and the fat's jiggling all over. Actually, it's funny. I mean, you think that's bad, or lots of people liked it?
Well.
It depends.
Bad for who?
I don't care what someone does in their personal life. I care if the client cares about it. That's it.
Right.
How do you know? That's what I'm saying.
It's all I'm an extension of their will. And if they're wrong, I'll tell them. But I'm not going to waste time putting stuff in front of them.
Okay, let's
Yep.
move
And there's
on.
just, it's not like those
They're not
exist
gonna
in
buy.
context. It's not one picture. If a guy's cursing up a storm on Twitter, I mean,
okay, let's move on. I spent too much time on this. Getting
Some of
people
these
on
political
LinkedIn,
diatribes too.
Getting people on LinkedIn to reply. You say you have a surefire way.
Yep, I got two ways to do it. The easiest is just clicking through profiles and having a title change like you're supposed to have that says you're exactly the person they want to talk to. So you sit down and you click through all of them. When they click back, you pop over your mobile device and you hit connect. And you get tons of invites that way. And then when you send a note, you say, hey, thank you for the connection. I am working on something, but more important, and you give them something like, are you looking this March? So you take the stress off of calling you about a job, but you're keeping it short and saying, let's talk about your future. And I always title everything career plans. If I'm sending an in-mail or something else, I never want to say I have a job for you. I never say I have a perfect job. It's a line or two that says, when can we talk? That's all I want. Give me a name, give me a connection, find some way to talk. Because I want to pull them off of LinkedIn and either onto the phone or onto an email or onto some other way. So if they're not calling, plus if I've clicked on it and sent a note, I can also call into their office. Now they've seen it a couple times. So I'll click on Monday, and I'll call on Tuesday, and I'll send an email on Wednesday. They'll know that I'm serious, and they tend to respond. It's get your name in front of them a couple times, but you never give them enough information to say no. You're looking to let them see your name first, and then connect to you, and then engage in the candidate hunt. I got to
go ahead. Sorry.
Short to the point.
I got a question.
Get them on the phone. That's my goal. Get them on the phone.
Yeah, I got a question. How come what I want to do? How come Maureen is talking to me on Twitter when she knows I can't see Twitter that often? When she's on the line, she doesn't ask any questions here. She's asking them on Twitter. What's the point of that? Same with Blake Cannon. What's wrong with these guys? Okay, I can't control anybody. It's ridiculous.
That's bullshit, bad animal. I just posted something and you right away, so you're up to Twitter.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Look, he's fighting with me there. Okay, anybody else got some questions? I can ask another related one, Jim. How do you get the person? How do you get permission from a candidate to text him or her? Because Jerry texts people all the time. Jerry likes texting.
I hate using text to respond to people. I want to be in their phone, but I want to tell them to call me or when to call me or give some information in some way. I hate trying to get in a conversation over text because I think it's too easy for people to ignore you. But I also respect the fact that I don't want to talk to someone at work or they've got things going on. So I'll tell them I want their cell phone. And I'll say, when I text you, call me. Tell me when you can call me. Let's not have conversations. Because I also don't want it popping up on their phone when they're in a meeting or beeping a bunch of times and someone says, who is that? Because they're nosy folks that are out there. So I tell them ahead of time I'm texting them. I tell them what for, and then I always try to get them to the phone after that. Hey, when can we talk? I give them times, 9:30, 7:30, after work, on the way to commute. Because if you're inside their phone, you have a tighter connection than if you're on email or even just talking to them, because their phone's with them at all times. But you got to tell them exactly what you want it for and not fall into chatting away and having a good time, which I know Jerry likes to do with his candidates.
Jerry's in a slightly different situation, but what do you say, Jerry? Jerry must have left, or he's fallen asleep or something like that.
He had to run off to do stuff.
I don't know. He's always talking about texting. Okay, so now we're coming to the end of the show.
Depends on what the candidate's environment is. If the guy's in a knock, he can't really talk or something like that, then maybe you need to text. Or if you know somebody can't get to the phone for some reason, and you just say, hey, please confirm this date, or whatever it is. It's a quick text.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
You ask them,
But he's telling me, how he gets the texting. Isn't that, since it's so intimate?
Yeah, I tell them that's what I'm going to send them. I tell them it's going to be directions. I want your text so I can reach out to schedule time to talk to you.
Okay. Now, what are your big anything? I saw someone ask a question today. What were the big developments in recruiting in 2014? Is there anything that caught your attention that you think is significant?
I think that it's weird. At the beginning of the year, there was an extensive. The time to hire went from 30 days to over 45, and the number of dropped offers when they did executive search was 41% of offers that were not taken for different reasons, including counter offers, salary too low. I took another offer. There's a bunch of that. They also said this was the best quarter for search and the run-up to hiring, but I think it was the best quarter for staffing, contract staffing, as opposed to executive search. So what I'm saying is clients are taking longer because they really want that perfect person, and it'll be interesting to see next year in this first quarter, we'll see amazing hiring, but only if you can make sure that the clients are doing it in 30 days. If you're working on long searches, you're gonna kill yourself because you're missing out on so much money, and the frustration internally is going to grow too. You can't do 6-month searches internally; that just kills you.
Okay,
you get tired of looking.
How's the drop in the oil prices going to affect people generally outside that industry?
Well, the drops in oil prices are like giant economic stimulus packages. They do a lot of hiring. People do more. They feel like a little more cash in their pocket. The long-term problem is what it's doing overseas is it's freezing hiring at the large companies as they all freak out as what Putin's doing and the ruble and stuff like that. So a drop in oil prices is good. This sudden of a drop is going to cut back hiring in oil and gas. So overall it's going to be bad, but it'll feel like a temporary wave over the next 3 months.
Okay. Jerry, are you having an after show? Wake up, okay?
He's not. He had to take a call.
Okay. Anything else you'd like to add as we pass on to 2015, Jim?
Well, that persona thing I thought was pretty important because I call all across the world, not across the world, all across the country in different types of jobs. And like you, I've been around a long time, and it's funny to me when a candidate says something that they think that they created, and it's something I've heard before. So I started thinking maybe the problem is that there's only a few stories that are out there, and we try to make everything so complex. Instead, we should simplify it. And so I came up with 3 themes that seem to fit. The first is when you get someone who wants to take a job, they plan their career out. I call them a next step. They come to you and they say, I'm going to my next step. This is my next plan step. It's a promotion or a raise or a skill set that they need. And companies love that because it shows a candidate who's competent, knows what they're doing, and usually is not as cheap.
So that's somebody, there's 3 kinds of candidates. This first one is the person who wants to improve in some way and move into a new position to do it. So that's the best kind.
They've managed their career. They know what it is. They know what the step, and they know what the next step is, and everybody understands what that means.
Okay.
Oh, you want to move to a manager. You want to move to this. You're a BA. You're moving to a systems analyst or a project manager. Everybody knows what those are because those are the kind of the tried and true ways, and that's an easy sell. The new hope are the folks who are in a position where they want to pivot their career.
It isn't necessarily an easy sell because usually they want someone who's doing it already. Moving someone up.
Well, that's the other half of it. I haven't dropped those yet, but on the other side of it is what companies want, which is the been there, done that. That's usually what they want. Been there, done that, cheaper than my current version. So sometimes you have to connect those two. I'm talking about what the candidates want, just from their personas and why they say the things they do, versus what the clients want and why they say the things that they do. So if you can learn to mix those, because the reason these are important is because the reason I call them channels is because once someone is in a channel, they're going to say the same things you've heard before. So you know what to say to them, you know what words to use. You're able to say, this is your next step, this is your budget, at this level you're making this decision. And that's gold to their ears because you're agreeing with them. And for the client, the been there, done that, you have to explain to them what they're looking for, what the market is. So there's easy ways to sell people who are all
so wait a second.
stable.
I derailed you. We can come back to this next year, but let's just do it briefly. So you got your person, the first
your
person
next step,
wants
your new hope.
The new hope. That's a career changer. That's a career changer, really, right? Career changer.
Career or industry, or you're a journalist and then you go into marketing. You're an IT recruiter and you go into sales. Basically, you have a skill set in something that you don't want to do anymore. You're burned out or done it. Or the industry's laying off and you're ready to move, and you're able to take what you've done and move it smoothly into another path. So those are good only if someone has done it before. So if they have someone on their team who came from a certain area or did a certain kind of experience, that's a good one. And New Hope is a good one, too, because everybody knows what that means. Oh, he's a journalist, he writes, he can do this job. He was a coder, now he's a business analyst. That makes sense. He managed this group, this is similar to this kind of group. So the New Hopes are great because they show... They're not the best, but you're trying to talk to candidates.
No, we're over-talking it. We're over-talking it. The third one, get me the hell out of here.
Get me the hell out of here, which is most people. where they literally are just trying to figure out, how do I move? The job's bad, I'm underpaid, my boss talked bad to me, I'm afraid of doing this, my spouse moved, I got to make more money. And there's a freak out. They're an emotional move, which is why they're so dangerous, because you have to take them. You have to, once they're in that channel, you have to get them out of that channel, because their decisions will be based on emotions as opposed to planning. So they lose confidence, and they'll lie a lot because they just want to get the hell out. So it's like a guy in the rapids. They'll take anything, any port in a storm kind of thing. So if you think through these and you wonder why, and people fall into these categories very well. So I figured I'd start writing about them, push them, combine them, and see if that made it easier when I'm talking to someone to create a framework. This is what marketing does. We create personas. So I thought that'd be useful.
Jimmy Durbin? Thank you!